What an exciting episode of Close Up. I am joined by the one, the only, the legendary Tony Schiavone.
Hey.
What a dream.
Well, thank you for that. The word legend really bugs me.
Why?
I don't know.
You feel like it's a bit of a trope?
I think it just means you...
We just throw it around?
Yeah, no, I just think it means you're old.
No.
Okay.
Okay, you know what's funny is I've had this conversation before. I've been in wrestling since 2012.
Okay.
So being on TV for that duration as a woman can be, you're aging on television, et cetera, et cetera. But what a luxury to be able to have a long enough career to still be on television and kind of age and grow with all these people. Like, not a lot of people get to do that.
Yeah, listen, I'm the first one that'll say that I'm a lucky guy. I'm lucky that I stepped back into this because I was out of it for quite a while. And I got into this kind of by accident, and it just blossomed into a pretty good career. So I'm very fortunate. I feel, you know, I was, I don't even like talking about this, but last year around this time I was inducted into the Hall of Fame in Waterloo, Iowa, and I didn't want to go.
What?
I didn't, but Gerald Briscoe, who helped me with my career, Conrad Thompson, who helped me with my podcast, both wanted me to be a part of it, and so I said, yes, I'll do it. But I just, I always thought that wrestling announcers, play-by-play guys, we're here to put people over. We're here behind the scenes. You shouldn't focus on us. You should focus on the wrestlers. I've always thought that.
So I agree with you. And I think that that's probably been ingrained in both of our brains. Of like, it's not about us. We're not the ones selling tickets. People aren't buying our merch, blah, blah, blah. 100%, of course.
Sure.
But in terms of helping to be able to tell these stories and be a reliable source in those moments and be somebody that's kind of like trustworthy and having talent lean on you for that. Like, that's not nothing. I mean, I just feel like that's been beaten into our heads of like, no one cares about you guys, and fine, we get it. But like, we can still give a little.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I appreciate that coming from one of the greatest announcers I've ever worked with. You are. We talk about this all the time. You're the best. I mean, sometimes I go, what are you doing in wrestling, Renee?
Well, okay, wait. So let's talk about this because you got into this accidentally.
Yeah, I did.
Because I feel like I also got into it somewhat accidentally. But give a little history here, how this was an accidental moment that has now, you know, flourished into this 40-plus year career for you.
Okay, so I was a big wrestling fan in Virginia and with Jim Crockett Promotions in the 70s growing up. And when I graduated from college and got a job in Greensboro, North Carolina, with a baseball team doing play-by-play. The very next year, I got a job in Charlotte doing play-by-play. At that time, Charlotte was the AA team of the Baltimore Orioles. That was owned by the Crockett family, who promoted wrestling. And believe you me, I knew what I was doing. I knew that, oh my God, I'm going to work for the Crockett's.
See that little door opening.
Right, and I did. And I went to Frances, who was she's the sister of Jimmy and David. And Jackie, I went to her one day. I said, you guys ever need a wrestling announcer? I know all about the sport.
Yeah.
And she called me one day and she said, yeah, we need someone to go to Ric Flair's house to do an interview. I went, holy
ding, ding, ding.
Okay. And a week later, they had me backstage doing interviews.
Yeah.
And then in 85, the Crockett's bought the time from Vince McMahon. And April 6, 1985, there I was on TBS with David Crockett. Isn't it crazy?
And for you to have just reached the 40-year milestone of being 40 years on TBS.
40 years on TBS.
Insane.
It's 40 years ago.
Sure.
Right. There were 18 years I was not in wrestling.
Sure.
Yeah, right.
But it's really interesting because I feel like my foray into professional wrestling was like working at a sports station in Toronto. They broadcasted another wrestling company at the time.
Okay, that's good. I'm sure they did.
But that's what led me into this. And for me, it was like light bulbs going off of like, man, growing up as a sports fan, growing up as, you know, wanting to entertain, having these worlds come together and having that light bulb moment go off a big man. I did not know how much this profession was for me. Did you have a moment like that? I mean, you were a wrestling fan, so you knew what you wanted to get into, but was there a moment of things kind of clicking, of you thinking like, man, this is going to work out?
Yeah, one of the things that the Crockett's had me do, and this is back when I was very fortunate. I came in at the end of the territory days. So the Crockett's, or Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, ran a lot of local events. So I was the person in the backstage area Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling is coming to the Greensboro Coliseum on Sunday, and I would bring in Ric Flair, and then we do another, I'd bring in the good guy, right?
Yeah.
And I would do it on a Wednesday all day. And about 2 months into that, I'm thinking, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah.
You know, I can really do this.
I mean, you've been able to work with some of the absolute greats, especially on the broadcasting side of things. Yeah. Who were you able to like really learn a lot from? Who do you think you gelled with the most? Like, who gave you some of those like great wrestling moments for you personally?
Well, I think my work with Jim Ross early in the WCW days taught me a lot.
Yeah.
Jim had at that time, and still does, had at that time supreme confidence in what he was doing. And he told me one time, he said, you need to think that you're the greatest wrestling announcer in the world when you get out there.
Yeah.
If you don't, you shouldn't be here. And he would give me a little bit of advice. So I learned a lot from him. I really did. And those were some pretty good days. Then he goes to the WWE. I start working with Jesse Ventura. Those are the fun days. Okay.
It's so fun when you do have someone that you can like really gel with, and it only happens once in a while.
Sure.
That you really get that person that you're firing on all cylinders with, and it feels like you're just like making magic. There's nothing better.
Right. I feel that way with Nigel.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I respect him so much as a wrestler. When we first started, I was kind of unaware of what was going on of his match. I'd heard that he was a former Ring of Honor World Champion. And then I sat down and I watched like 4 of his matches against Bryan Danielson. I went, holy shit, this guy is great.
Yes.
So I have a lot of respect for Nigel. And he's like me, he likes to have a lot of fun. And he comes with these jokes sometimes. It's just,
little hijinks. It's all about the hijinks that can happen during the shows.
And sometimes he'll say, hey, mate, do you think I can say this on TV? And he'll read me something. I go, no.
No, but maybe try it.
Yeah. Well, he did that one time.
Did you get in trouble?
No one said anything to him, but I went, hands off.
Have you had a moment like that where you've said something and you're like, ooh, too far, too much, shouldn't have used that word?
I think when the things that went on with Toni Storm, I love Toni Storm, right? I mean,
she puts you in a precarious spot from time to time. Right. Yes.
I'll give you an example, and this rib was played on me a couple of weeks ago. Luther's going to carry her in, and Nigel said, he's going to carry her over to me, and she's going to kiss me on the cheek. And he said, she's going to go over to you, and she's going to kiss you on the cheek, but you pucker her up, and then she'll look and go, ugh. So I puckered up, she kissed me right on the mouth. And I went back, I said,
for her. Commit to the bit.
I said to Nigel, I said, was that a rib? He said, yeah, mate, it was. I went to Toni Storm, I said, did your husband see that? She said, yes, and he loved it.
They all get it. They understand this wacky world that we're living in. You talk about those first moments of being able to go to Ric Flair's house and do that interview with him. Yeah. I mean, that's a huge
it's a big deal.
First moment. My God.
I was very nervous.
I bet.
And I really haven't been that nervous since then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there any moments like that talent-wise that you feel like made you as a broadcaster?
Well, I think it is not lost on me that when fans think back at the TBS days and they think about the great Ric Flair interviews, that I'm holding the microphone.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal. Yeah,
You see a lot of cuts of Ric Flair on TBS.
There you are.
Right there. You know, so I'm kind of tied to him in a way. And Dusty was also a big influence on my career because he's the one, according to him, and you know how bullshit runs in wrestling. According to him, he's the one that told Jimmy Crockett to put me on TBS.
Okay.
Because he was the booker back then. So I have and then of course the Briscoes, Jack and Gerald Briscoe were part of that. And so I feel really tied to those guys.
Sure.
But especially the fact that I was holding the microphone for some of Ric Flair's really, I don't know if greatest moments, but greatest promos.
Do you know in those moments when that's happening?
Yeah.
When you're like, man, this is, something's happening right now.
Yeah, that time when he was working this angle with Jimmy Garvin, and he was trying to woo Precious away from Jimmy Garvin, and he brought in a mannequin. Yeah. And he made out with a mannequin on TV while I'm holding the microphone. And I'm thinking, this is going to be remembered for a long, long time, and it is.
This is one of those moments.
Yeah. And that's the side of Ric Flair who's nuts. Everybody who's ever worked with Ric Flair knows he's nuts. And that's
Ric Flair in his heyday, too. Ric Flair in his primes, like, woo.
Oh, I know.
Buckle up.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I got a comment about that, but I'll hold it.
We'll save it. We'll save it for the edit, the special edit.
Please.
Okay, so going from doing interviews, holding that mic, being there for iconic moments, to also jumping on the call, and whether you're doing play-by-play or you're doing color, is there a role that you prefer to do? Because they're very different.
Yeah. When I first started here, I knew that Excalibur was the play-by-play guy. JR too. It was me, JR, and Excalibur that started. But I knew that, and so I knew my role, and I thought, you can't call play-by-play because I think Excalibur is unbelievable.
He's great.
Good. He's the best.
Yeah.
I mean, he has taught me so much
Yeah.
about holds. He has forced our hand.
Sure.
If he's going to start calling all these different holds, we better start calling that too.
Right. Yeah.
So, but then when Tony said he wanted to put me on Collision, I thought, and I told Tony, I said, I would like another chance to do play-by-play.
Yeah.
And that was when Rampage was around. And I said, think about it. If you say no, it's not going to bother me. I'm glad I got a job. I can still do the interviews.
Sure.
I can do color or lend my voice. Because I realized, Renee, that my role here, I realize it's better than anybody else, that my role here is for people to listen and go, oh, that's my childhood.
Sure. Yes.
It's nostalgia of me being here.
It's nostalgia, and it is that built-in trust. It's that sort of like authority, more or less, too. I mean, we believe you.
Sure.
We know you've been around.
Right.
Yeah. It's all there, that authenticity. You can't buy that.
Yeah, so I know my role. So he let me do Collision, and I'm really enjoying it. I enjoy working with Nigel. It's a blast, and we have a lot of fun, and we break each other up. And so, and Tony even said this. He said, man, I love you guys working together, and you come across as friends, but...
And it's different doing a two-man booth instead of a three.
I know.
Makes a big difference.
It sure does.
Yeah.
It's
have a little more
easier.
time. Yeah, oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
Not trying to get in a word edgewise and like, how do I jump in there?
And I'm the type of announcer that if I know I want to say something, but I know it's going to interrupt the flow of what they're saying, I'll hold back. Yeah. I don't want to muck up the broadcast.
It's hard to find that rhythm.
It sure is.
Yeah.
It sure is.
How is it bouncing between, from going from calling baseball into professional wrestling? Because when you're calling professional wrestling, you're not really just calling what you're seeing on the screen. It's different from calling something like baseball or hockey or football, whatever.
Right.
How do you navigate that?
Well, I don't know. I think for baseball, it was ingrained my love of the game. And with wrestling, it's just what I've been doing for a long time.
Do you have to
But I think I've probably done more baseball games than I've done wrestling matches, to be honest with you. Because I did the Braves AAA team for 11 years, 144 games a year.
Man.
Right? And then I did games in Double A, I did games in Single A. So I've done a lot of baseball games.
Yeah.
Baseball is so relaxing.
Yeah.
And
sure is.
What
Get me a dip and a beer. Let's have a good time.
Okay, but here's what's great about doing baseball for me, at least on the minor league level. I would go set up my equipment. I would go down to a pregame show. I would dial in or hook in, and no one told me what to say.
Yeah.
For 2.5 to 3 hours. It was just me talking. There was nobody in my ear saying, sell this, sell that,
But that gives me like another question too, though, of like, sorry if this is really nerdy for you guys, but sometimes it's hard to not have a lot of direction. To go, am I doing the right thing?
Yeah,
Are people enjoying? Should I be doing something else?
Unless you have supreme confidence in yourself.
Sure.
And I've never really had that supreme confidence in myself. But you're right. It's hard to say. It's hard to think. Are you doing the right thing? Is this right?
Yeah. People like this? Is this going okay? Yeah.
I did it for a long time. So,
yeah, of course. Right. You were doing it.
I think I did it for a long time because nobody was listening to me. Could have been it.
Okay, let's talk about these 18 years being away from professional wrestling.
Wow. That was so.
Yeah. Leaving professional wrestling, what was life like for you to not be a part of all this?
Well, it was good. It was good. I was really tired of it at the end. And anybody that follows WCW knows how bad it was at the end. So when we were shown the door, basically, and Vince bought the company, I tried to get on. They didn't want me. Thought that was fine. The day that WCW closed its doors, I had an interview that afternoon with the radio station and got hired.
Okay.
So I didn't lose anything at all. And WCW and Turner Broadcasting had a very good severance thing. So I was okay.
Yeah.
And then that was in 2001. By 2002, I was hired full-time by the radio station. And then the radio station had the Atlanta Braves, I started doing Braves pregame and postgame. I started being an official scorer for the Braves because I had done a lot of official scoring in the minor leagues. I was hired by Major League Baseball to do official scoring on a part-time basis. I wasn't a full-time. That's a rough job.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I'd say hit. What? I had the great Merv Retman, who was the hitting coach for the Braves. One time after I called a bunt an error instead of a hit. The media relations guy said, "Telephone for you." It was Merv Retman, the hitting coach, and he said, "Schulte?" I said, "No, Schiavone." He goes, "Whatever. Tell the official scorer get his head out of his ass." And he hung up. So that was my first day official scoring. Get my head out. So anyway, I was official scorer, and then opportunity came with the Georgia Bulldogs, and I started doing some
Ugga. See,
right.
I'm on it.
Opportunity came with the Georgia Bulldogs, and I was a statistician for them for a little bit, and then I moved into a spotter, and then I moved into the full-fledged producer with on-site producer for them. I did that basketball for 11 years, football for 2007, 13 years maybe.
Jeez. You're booked and busy, baby.
Yeah, I was very busy.
Yeah.
And then the radio station, after many years with them, decided not to renew my contract. And so I thought, man, I need some insurance, right?
Right.
So I got on with Starbucks.
Yeah.
And they had insurance. It was a part-time job. And people say, oh, I love Starbucks.
Yeah.
I love Starbucks for a number of reasons. Number one, the people that came in were so nice. And number two, the girls that I worked with,
they're good.
23-year-old girls.
Yeah. They keeping you sharp.
They keep me sharp. And they gossiped about each other. You know.
You're like, give me the tea. Give me that hot tea.
It's like that girl doesn't know how to make a latte.
What is your Starbucks order?
My Starbucks order is a latte with 2 pumps of. Well, it used to be 2 pumps of syrup, regular syrup, but now it's sugar-free vanilla.
Oh, there we go. Got to get that sugar-free, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep an eye on those things.
That's right. So, yeah, Starbucks was wonderful.
Yeah.
I worked for Starbucks 2 years. Started podcasting with Conrad, and then that led to
here.
To here.
Okay, so you get the call. You're here with AEW. Great opportunity.
Yeah.
Great new upstart company. How much, or like, what was your first thought when you got back into wrestling? How much the sport had changed?
Yes.
You see these new faces, this new style of wrestling that was not around when you were calling wrestling.
Sure. Right.
Did it take a while to kind of adjust or figure out how that was going?
Well, I always thought that I don't know all the moves. Excalibur knows all the moves. Again, like I said, I better catch up here. And I better learn these moves to sound like I know what I'm talking about. But I think what I thought and always thought I lended to it was the excitement.
Yeah.
Regardless of what type of wrestling it is, if I'm excited about it, which I truly am, I think that resonates and the viewers get excited as well.
Sure. Yeah, having that passion.
Right.
You can feel that no matter what.
Yeah.
What is the biggest difference you've seen between the wrestling that you started with back in 1985 to what we have here now? Just like the business in general, like you've seen it all.
Yeah. Well,
you've seen a lot of different things.
I've always thought, and I still think this at this day, that a wrestling company will only work if it's owned by a wrestling company. WCW was owned by Turner Broadcasting. We were just another part of Turner Broadcasting, like CNN.
Right.
And then they thought, we've had enough of it, okay? The WWE was owned by Vince McMahon. That's why it prospered.
Yeah.
We're owned by Tony Khan. That's why we're prospering. So I really think that what I'm seeing now is I'm working for a wrestling company. I worked for a television company back then.
Hell yeah, yeah.
And it's much different.
Yes,
It really is.
We work in wrestling.
Yeah.
Should be run that way.
So we talk Tony Khan. We know, as the old cliche goes, the buck stops there, right?
Yeah.
When I worked for whomever, and I worked for so many people in WCW, the buck didn't stop there.
Yeah.
It went 2 or 3 levels higher.
Right.
So.
What is your relationship like with Tony when he brought you in?
Oh, it was wonderful. Cody got in touch with me, and he said, Tony is going to call you. I said, okay. Tony called me. We spent an hour on the phone.
Did you have like a pre-existing relationship with Cody through Dusty?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've known Cody and Teal and his sister for a long time.
Yeah.
And their mom. So then Tony said, come on down to Jacksonville. I said, okay. Spent all day down in Jacksonville with him. And I'm thinking, this guy has energy out the wazoo. You know, we're talking about energy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's talking a freaking mile a minute. We're walking here, let's walk here. Yeah, let's go here, let's go to the clubhouse.
Yeah.
Here's my office, sit down. Hey, I got to get up and go. I'm thinking, whew.
Get my steps in today.
But then he offered me a deal, which was better than any deal I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
And it floored me.
Yeah.
Okay. And I turned around and called Lois. I said, you're not going to believe this. Realistically, because there was a time, and it's in my comic book, there was a time right after the radio station did not rehire me, and before Starbucks, I got the family together and said, we may have to sell this house.
Right.
Which I don't want to do because we've been in the same house 35 years. It's raised all 5 kids there. It's my home. Don't want to leave it, okay?
Yeah.
Oh,
God, that makes me sad. I couldn't imagine leaving my house.
No, I'm not.
Especially when you've been in that long.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. We moved in there in 1990.
Wow.
So I don't want to leave that house, and so I thought maybe I have to sell it. And then Tony Khan steps in, and bingo.
That's amazing.
Isn't it?
Yeah, that's really great. Well, Tony, thank you for doing this. It really is a pleasure to get to work with you and learn from you and watch how you navigate this world. Yeah. It's really great. I've been able to learn from a few different people along my way. So I'm very happy to be able to add you to
You're
that
the best,
list.
Renee.
You're
You know
gem.
that. No, you are the best, and it's a pleasure working with you. You're always smiling. In a business that sometimes backstage makes us want to cry, doesn't it?
Sometimes.
Exactly.
But we laugh our way through.
Yes,
It'll
we
be
do.
fine.
It's tough, but it makes us better people, I hope.
Yeah. Let's go do a show, shall we?
Okay.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.